Things like this usually don't happen in a community like ours. It's very tragic.
Investigators release autopsy reports today for 8 members of an Ohio family killed execution style.
We begin tonight with a deadline that has passed for the mother of 2 missing children from Rexburg.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Amanda and we discuss all things true crime related. In today's case, we are going to be talking about the disappearance of 5-year-old Summer Wells. Now there's a lot to unpack in this case, and for the sake of keeping the focus on Summer and hopefully one day finding answers to what happened to her, I'm going to limit how much I go into side stories in this case. Even the lead detective has said that social media really has complicated this case. We have to remember that this is someone's real life and a little girl is missing. It's important to be mindful of that when we go through the details. Toward the end, I may briefly touch on some of the things people have brought up online, or I may save that for a smaller Patreon video, but for this we are going to focus solely on Summer. And before we get into the details, I want to remind you that I am no expert in this case or any other cases. All the information I share comes from public sources. If there's something I've missed or something you think I should add, please feel free to reach out to me in the comments below by email, or if you're listening in the podcast version, you can message me directly through my podcasting platform, Buzzsprout. It's like a send me a text. You can just send me some information through there. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel as we go through cases new and old. So let's talk about Summer herself, the most important part of our story. Summer Utah Moon Wells was born on February 4th, 2016 to her parents Candace Bly and Donald Wells.
It was called House, My House. She sung that a lot of times when I play it on the TV. She loved to dance.
She liked to think of herself as a princess and, you know, and all that like all young girls do. And
she loved Frozen. She loved to be that Elsa and...
She lived with them and her 3 older brothers in Rogersville, Tennessee. Don had some children from before he met Candace, and we'll talk about one of those later. Summer's grandmother, Candace's mother, also lived on the property, staying in a trailer right next to the family's home. Today we're focusing on June 15th, 2021. Candace, her mother, who is also named Candace, so just to clarify throughout the video, we're just going to call her Grandma, and Summer spent the day running errands together. I found this news clip from WJHL. A shout out to them for all the coverage they have done in this. A lot of the resources I found came from them. It is a bit older, but it goes over perfectly what they described happened that day.
News Channel 11 continues to work to find answers. Tonight, Ansley Daniels in the Beech Creek community with a timeline of June 15th, 2021, leading up to that night.
But for the first, we walk you through that day with her mother and grandmother from their perspective just hours before she was reported missing.
Candace and I got up that morning. She came out and took me into the ER because my leg was messing up on me.
The hospital is about 25 minutes from the Wells Beech Creek home in Kingsport.
She took me into the hospital, and I ended up getting a shot for it to get rid of the pain. And they prescribed me medication.
Summer, her mother, and grandmother spent the day in the closest city to their house.
Then we waited around for my prescription. Summer went swimming that day at the horse stables, I believe it was.
We were waiting on my mother's prescription from the drugstore at Walgreens on Fort Henry.
The 3, along with a friend that Candace describes as a minor, then came swimming here at Warriors Path State Park. It's where the last known video of Summer was taken and then posted to TikTok.
We had to wait for Mom's prescription at Walgreens, so we just went up to Warriors. There was all kinds of trash everywhere at Warriors when we showed up. And I let Summer out to play, and we just stood there for about 15-20 minutes, and then we all got back in the truck and went and got Mom's prescription, and I took him home, and then we came home.
And so then Summer came back here with you later that afternoon, right?
Yes.
The trip from Warriors Path back to Ben Hill Road is just over 17 miles. But Bly couldn't recall how many hours that was before she reported her daughter missing.
About how many hours was that before she was reported missing?
You know, I really can't tell you all the time details because time gets away from you when you're trying to enjoy yourself.
The 3 then returned here to their home on Ben Hill Road.
Now, Don and Candace would also do an interview with local news within the days following Summer's disappearance, where Candace would explain in her own words what happened that evening Summer disappeared.
Me and my mother and her were planting flowers, And we went in after we got done washing our hands, and she got a piece of candy from Grandma, and she wanted to go back over and see her brothers. And I said, okay, and I walked her all the way over to the porch, and I watched her walk into the kitchen where the boys were watching TV. And I told the boys, I said, watch Summer, I'll be back. And within 2 minutes I came back, and I asked the boys where their sister was, and they said, she went downstairs, Mom, to play with her toys in the playroom. I said, okay. And I yelled downstairs for her a couple times, and I didn't get no answer, which was unusual because usually she always answers me. And so I went down there to check, and she was nowhere in sight. She was just gone.
It appears, from my understanding, that Candace called Don to tell him that she couldn't find Summer, and then both parents would contact 911. I did not find the 911 calls while I was researching this. If you do see them, please send them to me. I can post those in the description box if I've got them so everybody can check them out. But there was a transcript from the audio calls over the emergency scanners from the night Summer disappeared, where it reported that the parents had called in to advise that the mother went for a walk, came home, and now they can't find her. They've been yelling for her, and she's been gone about 10 minutes. Now, this mention of a walk, it really doesn't come up anywhere else in this story, so I'm not sure if this was an initial version that was later changed by Candace or simply just an error by dispatch. The transcript also describes Summer as a 4-year-old girl, and we know that she's 5, so sometimes these details could just be mistakes. We know that at the moment, dispatchers are more focused on getting officers prepared for what type of environment they may be walking into, rather than the very small details of what Mother was doing at the exact moment or how old she was. When police arrived on scene, they immediately began searching for Summer. They quickly noted that the terrain around the house was very rough, which made the search difficult. Just after midnight on June 16th, a statewide endangered child alert would be issued for Summer, and then by 11 a.m. that same day, the alert would be upgraded to an official Amber Alert. At the time she went missing, Summer was described as being 3 feet tall and about 40 pounds with blonde hair and blue eyes. She was last seen wearing a pink shirt and gray pants. And around 4 p.m. on that same day, June 16th, officials held what would be the first of many news conferences to update the public on the search.
Thank you for being here and continuing to cover the search for 5-year-old Summer Wells. Unfortunately, we don't have any significant updates to provide as Summer is still missing. But
the following day, the police say searches are still happening for Summer, but the steep and dangerous terrain, dense canopy coverage, and ground cover has hampered their efforts. Poor cell service was also making it difficult for them to communicate. In the evening of June 17th, Don Wells, Summer's father, spoke to a media outlet for the first time, saying, "When we got home, I drove to the bottom of the property, and I realized that all my neighbors and stuff were coming through the woods looking for her. And I realized right then and there that she was not there. I knew right then and there that she was gone, because she would never leave there on her home. Someone had taken her." TBI shared photographs of Summer along with images of her home and property where she was last seen. The Kingsport man stepped forward and offered a $25,000 reward for information that could lead to finding Summer. Another $10,000 was sent in as the community where Summer lived and those around the nation were watching, hoping that she would be found. On June 26, police would come to the public asking for help identifying a vehicle.
Breaking news in the search for Summer Wells. The TBI tweeting just an hour ago that they are searching for a potential witness that may have been in the area of Ben Hill Road this afternoon, that Summer Wells went missing. TBI says they do not think that this person is a suspect at all, but rather a person that could have seen or heard something while they were in that area. Officials say they've received information that a 1998 to 2000 model Toyota Tacoma, either maroon or red, with a full ladder rack along with white buckets in the truck bed, was seen on either June 14th or the day that she went missing, Tuesday the 15th. This is not a picture of the truck that they think it is. However, it is an example of what the truck might look like. Officials so far have not been able to identify the driver of the truck. They're asking for this person to contact them, no matter how insignificant it may seem. Again, this person is not a suspect, but a potential witness to what may have happened to Summer.
Don and Candace mentioned this truck during one of their interviews that they did and said they just wanted the driver to come forward and explain why they were in the area. This day, as I'm recording it in August of 2025, I do not believe anyone has come forward owning the red truck or saying that they were there in that area. Police have said that this individual is not considered a suspect or a person of interest, but rather a possible witness who may have seen something important. The family, however, seems very suspicious of this truck. They made it clear that they do not believe that Summer just wandered off on her own, and they truly think that she was abducted.
I know she didn't walk away from this property by herself or off this yard by her swing. I feel in my heart that somebody has came up here and took her, has lured her away from here.
Police keep hard with their searches through this time around the family home, and on June 19th, Candace and Don speak with WJHL about what happened. I shared some portions of this interview earlier already. I like to share bits and pieces of what happens in their own words. I feel like that's the easiest to understand.
Was she in school yet?
No, she's going this year.
This was supposed to be her first year of
She's
kindergarten.
We did all the what?
I took care of everything.
Yeah.
I had her already took on all of her shots and registered in the school for ready for this year.
I just never expected for anyone to get a hold of my heart like she has, because I try to guard my heart as much as I can, but she holds my heart in her little hands. And I love her with all my heart. I'd do anything to have her back.
Your old little girl.
If there's any way, if you can find it in your heart, to please release her somehow. I don't know how you might do that. I mean, 'cause you're probably scared of going to prison for the rest of your life and everything else, I'm sure. But please find it in your heart, have mercy, and find a way of letting her go, and where we can get her back. And just please have mercy on her, and and us, and her brothers. And she's such a loving, good spirit. Please don't hurt her. Please let her come home. My biggest fear is, her being tormented or locked in a dungeon or basement or something, because she loved to be outside all the time. That was her, unfortunately, her downfall. 'Cause a lot of times the boys would be inside and we'd be like, "Where's Summer? Why'd you leave her out there alone? Go get Summer now." And that's happened over and over again. And we'd come out and she would always be close by, but we was always coming up. She had to be outside. She was an outdoor person. And
She loved to be outside.
Yep. And I'm so afraid that she's locked away. She's such a loving heart and everything, and I'm afraid that she won't be able to, locked away where she can't be outside or play with a puppy or anything, love nature, and that's my greatest fear, that she's not able to do any of these things anymore, or that she could possibly, I don't want to think she's dead, but it's a possibility. I don't want to address all the negativity. I just want to focus on the positive, because it's so easy to get, lost in that negativity and stuff, and it's just not worth it. So I appreciate y'all, the good things you say, and your prayers. That's awesome.
By June 22nd, 1 week after Summer disappeared, TBI reports at least 220 tips had been received, but none of them had led to Summer. Searches continue in the area, and they continue to ask residents in the area to check barns, crawl spaces, and any other place a child might hide. Hoping to speak with witnesses on June 23rd, police would set up roadblocks to ask drivers if they noticed anything unusual around the day that Summer had disappeared. In the days following Summer's disappearance, crews searched more than 3,000 acres using helicopters, planes, drones, and scene tracking dogs. However, she or nothing of evidentiary value have been found. And by June 27th, police announced that they are scaling back the search operation. On July 1st, the Polk County Sheriff's Office out of Wisconsin told WJHL that the disappearance of Summer has sparked some renewed interest in another missing persons case, Rosemarie Bly, Summer Wells' aunt who went missing in 2009. Try not to mention other cases within a case without giving some details. So Candace Bly's sister Rose left her residence in St. Croix, Wisconsin, believed to be en route to Cushing, just a short 6 miles drive. The 21-year-old mother of two never made it. Her car, a 2001 white Pontiac Grand Am, was found in the village of Gransburg, which was about 17 miles north of her house. There was no idea how her car got there. She has not been seen since. A video was released back in 2009 and the 10-year anniversary to try and bring some interest in it.
A secret that has haunted Candace here in this community for 10 long years.
And it's horrible. It's hard to deal with. Very hard to deal with. And my life will never be normal without knowing where my daughter is.
I'm going to go ahead and post that in the comments so that way you guys can check it out if you'd like. Now, Don continues to speak with the media, but sometimes the things that he says are they just come off weird. Like an interview from July 14, 2021, which is about a month after Summer went missing, he tells a reporter, "I'll see her in the resurrection," which gave some people some weird vibes, but weird doesn't always mean wrong, and people grieve and handle things differently. He would also have some discussions with the podcast, telling them on July 26, 2021, that his 3 sons that he shared with Candace, Summer's older brothers, were removed from their home. He explains that the speculation, harassment, and rumors have caused him to spiral down a bad path of drinking. However, I do want to point out, and we will discuss later, that it doesn't seem like this problem started with Summer. But I can see where something like this could definitely spiral you into a deeper hole. This drinking problem would actually lead to an arrest on October 31st for driving under the influence. This would be violating his probation, so he would be placed back in jail. I'll go over more details about his probation towards the end of the episode. Don and Candace continued searching for their daughter and even appeared on the Dr. Phil show on November 11th and 12th to ask for help. During that appearance, Dr. Phil said he doesn't believe that the couple harmed Summer, so take that as you will. Unfortunately, though, that Dr. Phil appearance did not generate any new leads, or did it ease the speculation surrounding the family. On February 5th, 2022, would be Summer's 6th birthday. It came and went without any sign of her. Just a few days later, on February 9th, 2022, Don was sentenced for the DUI he occurred at the end of October. Because it was a probation violation, he received a sentence of 11 months and 29 days in jail, with the possibility of probation after serving 180 days, along with the requirement to attend a 28-day alcohol rehabilitation program.
A personal letter from the father of a missing East Tennessee girl was added to the family's website. Don Wells penning an emotional letter from jail addressed to the people responsible for kidnapping Summer. Here's Nicole Smith.
It was a letter written from behind bars where Don Wells continues to be after his arrest on a DUI charge, which violated his probation on a previous charge. A letter to the person or persons responsible for the kidnapping of his daughter, Summer. In the letter, Don Wells talks about the lives ruined from Summer's parents to her brothers. He says the person has also touched everything, including their chance for employment. He says he doesn't know if he'll ever find a job after being fired from the one he had for 13 years, and Summer's mother, Candace, can't get anyone to hire her. The handwritten letter goes on to beg the kidnappers to give their little girl back before God's wrath descends on them, adding, "One day, God will hold you accountable for this crime unless you do something to make this right. Please do the right thing and turn our daughter over to the authorities." It ends with the line, "We're begging you with all our hearts, please do the right thing. Summer's father."
He was ultimately released at the end of October of 2022. There would have been some more searches over the years, but nothing has been found. 2 years after her disappearance, an age-progressed photo of Summer Wells was released by the TBI. A year after that, the TBI, still pushing the case forward, released a video about the case, but there really hasn't been any updates in the case since then. Police say that they do not have enough evidence either way to say if she was abducted or if she got lost. Now, just this past June 2025, Don told the local news that the DCS case against him and Candace had been dropped. sharing court documents and saying that if Summer was found today, she'd be able to return home. He said that they have not spoken to the police in some time after their private detectives that work for them. They are basically the liaison between the police and them. And from what I'm able to understand, their 3 boys have not been returned to them. Don said that they signed them over to the state, so I'm not sure if that means they signed them over for good or if it was just a temporary thing. I do not have too much interaction with DCS or CPS as it's called in my state, so I'm unsure of how that works. As I said before, though, the family, as in Don and Candace, believe that Summer was abducted. However, the TBI says there's no evidence of that. There's no evidence of anything. Now, I want to know, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that she wandered off? Do you guys think that she was abducted? Do you think that something happened at her home and her family is trying to cover it up? That has been one of the allegations. And I just want to make it clear, as I've laid out, Don and Candace or anybody in their family has not been charged with any crimes regarding Summer's disappearance. On Tuesday, July 12, 2025, TBI released another age-progressed photo of Summer. I'll be posting it here and on my Facebook if you're listening to the podcast version so you can see it. Now, there are a few things that have been brought up regarding this case and those closest to Summer. I've been going back and forth with this because in my mind I'm asking myself, does this help the case at all? I guess it's important to discuss things as they are. It does seem that Don's past criminal history has been a part of discussion in this case. In fact, he actually spoke with a local reporter at one point to try and clear the air about some of the speculation. Records show that on October 14, 2020, Don was arrested and charged with domestic assault, possession of a handgun while intoxicated, and unlawful possession of a weapon. According to his reports, he had come home intoxicated and found a man at home with Candace. She told police that Don believed she was cheating on him and an argument broke out. During that fight, Don allegedly pushed her down, injuring her knee. Police reported that Don was intoxicated and had a .22 caliber handgun in his truck, and because of a prior felony conviction out of Ohio, it was illegal for him to possess a firearm. The following day, on October 15th, Candace would go and file an order of protection against Don, saying that he drinks and throws things. She was afraid of being hurt and that he is physically and mentally abusive to her. However, she would go and have this dismissed on October 19th, 2020, just days after the incident. He did end up, like I said, pleading guilty to the possession of a handgun while under the influence and served time. He would not go into detail about his conviction in Utah with the reporter, though. That was a hard no, which makes me wonder some things. There has been some discussion about comments Don made, some allegations made by his stepsister about abuse when they were younger, and she was significantly younger, and he was grown enough to know that those are wrong. However, those were just allegations. I have not seen any charges on those. Some of the comments, though, that I've heard him say or read, they just seem gross. There's also some discussion about an older son of Don Wells that he had before he met Candace. The older son's name, I believe, is Don as well. He pled guilty to sexual indecency with a child in 2007. So rumors were swirling that maybe he had something to do with this, but it was confirmed he was in Utah at the time of Summer's disappearance. While speaking of this, Don, of course, played this down, saying that the two, his son and the young girl that he slept with, were just 18 months apart. I did not dig into this too much to find out. It has nothing really to do with Summer's story, but I am describing the people in her life, and this did take place. People were talking about it. Now, if you have any information regarding the disappearance of Summer Wells on June 15, 2021, please call 1-800-TBI-FIND. She would be turning 10 years old this coming February, and her family and the community are still waiting for answers. I chose to cover this case now because of some newly released aged progressed photos, and since I haven't gone over it before on this channel, I felt it was important to open it up here so we can follow it. Hopefully a positive update will come out someday. But that's all I have for this case. If you've made it this far into this video, thank you so much for watching. I'm still waiting on the DeAndre Booker preliminary hearing to finish. It's been very choppy. There's been like a day in the first week, a day in the second week, 2 days, like it's been all over the place, and there's still hopefully one more day on August 22nd, so I'll bring you that as soon as I can. The 23rd, I'm driving down to Delaware to get my son back for them visiting his dad all summer. He's been gone for 5 weeks, and I'm so excited. It's been too long. But please make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future updates. Until the next video, stay safe out there. The world's an ugly place.